Hello, how are you?
Fine, thank you. I have decided to finally go to therapy.
Oh,
Right.
good for you.
But I'm really worried what to expect and what not to expect, I suppose, as well.
From the first session.
Yeah.
Well, first session could be quite intense because usually you'll come in and, you will log in if it's online, and therapist might ask, how can I help? Or what would you like to do in therapy? Or tell me what's going on and I can see if I can help. And then basically you have to share everything that's going on. And you don't have to try to be perfect. So don't worry about it. No, you don't have to list it in a perfect order. Just whatever comes to mind that's really upsetting you now. So you start with that. It might be not logical, you might get upset and start crying. That's why therapists always keep a pack of tissues in the room, so that's normal. So it's fine. And then you can jump into another thing, and then you might remember something and say, and then I forgot about that. And then therapist might kind of gently guide you, and just listen to you, or you can ask questions about therapists and how he or she is working. So you don't expect it to be perfectly structured, unless there are some types of therapies which are more kind of like CBT or which are more structured, so that would be different. But normal therapy session is, first session can be quite chaotic and full of information, material. So don't try to kind of prepare for it. Just bring whatever's bothering you, whatever. Just tell why you're looking for therapy in the first place, like right now, in present time. So don't think that you need to, like some clients come and say, do you have to talk about my parents? Well, I don't really want to talk about my parents. Or I had perfect childhood. Almost defensively, they kind of say that. And then I say, no, that's not important. If your past is important, it will come up in therapy anyway. But we don't have to start with that. So just what is wrong now? So that's okay, yeah.
That's very interesting that it doesn't have to be structured and it can be chaotic. Because I suppose some people probably want some sort of certain structure in something, so that can probably feel quite different for them. That it's not going to be all set in stone and predictable. Like I guess therapy is quite unpredictable, right?
Well, it kind of is predictable. Therapists usually can see what maybe needs to be worked on, and then after the first session, you can then kind of talk about it at the next session, if you decide to proceed together, because you might decide not to. And then therapists might suggest, like, why don't we do this, or why don't we do that? And then your sessions will become a bit more structured. But again, every time you can, if something else comes up, you can bring it onto the session and say, no, I really thought about it, and what's really bothering me is this at the moment. Let's start with that. Or maybe something which you started with is too painful, so you don't want to work with it. I'm not ready, but let's talk about that instead. So that's fine. It's usually kind of, some therapists tend to do what's called contracts, that we agree what we are going to talk about, what is our goal, but it's always flexible. And you can have contracts for every session. Like today we're aiming to do that, but it's also flexible, so it's really up to you. It's your space, basically.
It's nice. That sounds very good. That sounds like I'm ready now.
Yeah, it's really a space for you. So if you want to come to therapy and just be silent for half an hour.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
It's okay, because some people said, I just needed to just be for a little bit, because they're just so busy, maybe they're just so stressed, and then they just need space.
Wow.
And then after that, they start talking and they start working, but it's part of therapy.
To have space and just to be silent. Wow. That's fascinating. Oh my God. I didn't know that those things were like possible. Wow.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, it's your space, so it's up to you how you want to use it. Of course, you agree to a therapist, but you just have to voice what you want and what you feel like doing in therapy, and then you agree how to proceed with it.
I see. That's very interesting.
Fascinating process. So I'm glad that you were excited and you have found a therapist, I imagine.
Yeah.
So you're very ready to start. Great. Okay. Well, we'll talk about it next time then.
Thank you for listening.